One. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm Duff, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. Good morning and welcome, my friends, to Insights and Straight Talk. As you know, I'm Duff, here with producer Barbie. And today's conversation is not about hype. And this is also, just on a side note, this is something I've been very excited about because, as you know, this is the area in the world that a lot of people are moving in, and certainly where this platform lives. But it's not about hype today, right? It's about pressure. Because marketing sounds easy when things are calm, budgets are flowing, engagement looks healthy, nobody's angry. But what about when millions are watching and not in a good way, right? What happens when a brand is under attack? When credibility is questioned? When attention turns into scrutiny? Our guest today, Anthony Neal Macri, didn't learn marketing from a textbook. He learned it while working at Ashley Madison. I don't know if any of you remember it. I do. During one of the most publicized corporate crises of the internet era, the earlier internet era. That kind of environment forces clarity, right? It forces you to ask, is attention enough? Or does trust actually matter more? Okay. Now, fast forward to today. AI is everywhere. Automation is scaling content at unprecedented speeds, right? Brands are publishing more than ever, a lot more than ever. But here's the question for the great middle class and the founders, the operators, and the creators. Are we building trust, or are we just manufacturing noise? Anthony operates at the intersection of AI, growth, media, and attention economics. And today, we're going to pull apart where AI strengthens brands, where it weakens them, where SEO is dying. Something I'm really looking forward to dig into a little bit here. I'm learning a lot about this area right here. And what's replacing it? This is not a surface conversation. This is about credibility, about reputation, long-term positioning. And for sponsors like Leaf Lab, who believe in agile learning and real-world application, this conversation matters deeply to them. Because if we're teaching the next generation to build businesses in an AI world, we better be honest about what works and what breaks. Let's get into this. Hang on a second. Always got my little stuff to do here. And Anthony, welcome. I love that you're here, and I'm excited about everyone. This. Yeah. Say hi. We've got about we've almost got 100 people in.
Oh, hello, everyone.
So this is an AI topic. This is a conversation where the whole world is going, and at I hate to say breakneck speed, but I mean, basically it's that. One thing I forgot to mention in the green room was you didn't touch those peanuts, right?
No.
Okay, good. Thanks.
I would never.
One thing I forgot to mention is we kind of like you to, if you would, what is the journey that put you on the journey that brought you here today? So what is that story? Give us a little background while people are kind of popping in. We're right at 100 now and kind of warming up their coffee.
Well, I started working in what was, I guess, the startup bubble, which, my career started early on at AshleyMadison.com, which is one of the most infamous scandalous companies ever. And that from a marketing perspective was already, I think, one of the where I learned some of the biggest marketing lessons, because as a brand that's advertising or selling a product that a lot of people want, but nobody's willing to advertise it or admit that they're using it, it becomes incredibly hard. If you're using a skincare product or a cleaning product, word of mouth works because you tell your friends, like, oh, that's incredible. The likelihood of you telling your friends, hey, I'm on Ashley Madison and this is great, unlikely, won't happen. And also the other factor, which is, when I work with different brands nowadays, companies do want the advertising money. So they do want you to spend to advertise your product on platforms, whether that's YouTube, whether that's Google, Facebook, whichever that might be. When you are a brand like Ashley Madison, the brands, the companies, they do like the idea of taking your money, but they can't let you advertise because as a product, it's not something you can just advertise. So that connects well with what I was saying before, which is the lesson. Early on, I've learned that there is such a thing as attention jacking, which is you get people, journalists, media to talk about you, even if they don't want to. I could literally have a conversation in a boardroom with the executives about trying to buy advertising on a website, and they'd be like, no, we can't. The day after, there will be something scandalous. They will be like, look at what this disgusting website is doing, but they're still talking about us and doing it for free. So it's about generating attention in places or in alternative ways, creative ways, when the world won't let you. And that's, I guess, the initial lesson from my career. And then, after Ashley Madison, I worked for a number of different startups that have had incredible success. And now I work in AI with an Italian company called languagecheck.ai, where we are doing virtually the same thing, but we're doing it the opposite way, where we're saying AI is great, and we've seen an acceleration on the capacities and usefulness of AI. But human in the loop, which means the human always needs to be in control of what the output is. Is still very much necessary, particularly when it comes to things like translations and localization content. This is important because one of the industries that's been affected, I guess, first from AI has been the language professionals. So 10 years ago, if you knew 5 languages, you had a great amount of work and a great career, because knowing languages wasn't that simple, and translation was very, very, very sought after as a skill set. Nowadays, the first ones to go have been, or initially they thought that they were gone because the industry started using AI very quickly for this type of function. But what we discovered at Language Check is instead that in particular cases, when it comes to healthcare, legal, translating content at scale, that becomes a liability, because language has meaning, and as much as large language models are great, these little nuances can get lost, and that also can become, maybe today you save $5,000 on hiring a translator, but 2 years down the road, it might cost you 20 million in lawsuits because that little pamphlet got 10 people killed. I didn't mean to be so dramatic, but it is all well within the realms of possibilities when you're dealing with, a company that translates an instruction manual in 56 languages and does it using LLMs without any sort of human in the loop to check the quality of the content that's being translated. And I think a lot of companies, enterprise level, medium size, they jumped on this because, of course, they saw the money savings, of course, and we know companies are trying to save money every corner, every time they can. They want to save money. The point is that now I think there is starting to be some sort of clarity around how far can we go and where do we put the human, or where will the humans be, in order to safeguard and to make sure that
let me ask you something.
Content.
Let me ask you something right there, just to kind of dig down a little bit deeper. The human now, I mean, that point makes amazing sense. But then at some point, because that humans need to go back and review all that content, are you saving money at that point, or how does that look? What are they actually doing in because you're right. Sometimes, AI has, it has amnesia, or it goes off and has hallucinations, is I think the term.
Of course.
So how much you really saving there?
I think in the case of languagecheck.ai, as the company I was talking about, the time savings sits in using AI to check itself. What I'm saying is, if a company is using, or a translator is using AI to translate 20,000 lines of language, of text, then the translation gets put into AI to check, to make sure that the sentence 1 and sentence 1 actually do make sense, and then only show the translator or whoever in the quality assurance process, say, hey, I think out of the 20,000 lines, there is a 7%, 8% of them that require human attention or human interaction to make sure there's no meaning drift, like we're not missing out on anything, or something could be communicated the wrong way.
The AI is giving you that feedback of 7-8 lines.
So research.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Latest research is actually showing that large language models, AI, however we want to call them, are actually better at judging the translations rather than creating them. So and that's why I think
that makes sense.
And in no way I'm saying that the industry will go back to hiring translators. And I'm not saying they're not. I'm saying that even freelance translators are using AI to translate and speed up their workflow, because margins are going down lower and lower and lower. So of course, in order to survive in this industry, of course they're going to be using it. But what we're saying is, we know this change is coming. All we can do is just put a safeguard and say, hey, these tools are here, so let's use them correctly and put the human where it matters, so that there's always that sort of safeguard between machine and humans. And also because languages, I speak 2 languages fluently, and I know that meaning, when it comes to the cultural relevance, you can say the same thing in English translated in Italian, because I also speak Italian. But one of the problems is that technically it's correct, but it does not mean at all what it means in English, and vice versa for Italian with English. So for things like marketing, you can say, okay, well, we went out with a crappy marketing campaign that doesn't communicate what we wanted to say, so maybe just a failure because it was translated poorly. But when it comes to legal documents or healthcare or instruction manuals for more serious things, more important things, I don't think companies can afford to play with that.
Okay, you caught me on that one. That.
No worries.
Yeah, and there's just some questions coming in. Good, and that was a good test there. It looks like we may have gotten rid of our glitch, but there's some real questions here as far as rebuilding your brand once you've lost it and so forth. But we've been talking mainly about the AI, and the first thing you brought up was that industry that is being more effective up front now, earlier on now already, is language translation, and for the same things. And I think the same model is going to be occurring more and more is the legal profession as well. When you get into legal documents, SOPs are already big. Everybody pumps their SOPs into operating procedures into AI, and then you check it, right? Same thing. And more documentation is going to really get interesting, really fascinating, because we're going to be able to and what goes with it is all the stats, all this marketing information, the feedback, the A/B tests now that can be done so easily for little guys like me, quote unquote, competing against larger platforms and so forth, the big guys. And same thing in industry. I come from a machine manufacturing industry. I built a machinery business over 30 years. You could tell I've been around a while. And we did a lot of work with Italy. I love Italy. Italy is awesome. But anyway, it's going to be really, really fascinating how quickly all of this evolved. I mean, do you even have right now it's kind of hard to kind of figure out where AI and automation, automation is that thing you want done perfectly on schedule, and it just pumps it out. AI is like a buddy or an associate that you're bouncing ideas back and forth off of.
Exactly.
Your agent.
It's
Yeah.
exactly.
Go ahead.
Well, I think I was saying this the other day during an interview, and one of the things that comes back to mind is somebody told me is like, as much as it hurts me to say, Cindy, or whatever name we want to use, down the hall, the middle management in a corporate office, her job might be today to create briefs and pretty much be the communication layer between who's lower and the executive team, the CEO. As much as Cindy's great and she makes great muffins, her job is probably going to be the first one to go if she doesn't find a way. And I say this. And
now I'm hungry. Thanks a lot. Now all I'm thinking about is muffins right now. Damn it. Go ahead.
Me too. But as much as it's not funny, but it's
True.
The truth, because maybe 5 years ago, she spent 6 hours a day kind of gathering all these informations from different teams, creating the content that was more that was easier, summarized for the executive team, for CEO. That's like, okay, give me 10 bullets of the last week's activities, what I need to know. Virtually now, Cindy can plug this into any sort of AI, and you can spit that out in 20 seconds. So what that means doesn't necessarily mean that Cindy's out of a job. It just means that Cindy needs to be more creative in how she can keep her position while making and using AI as much as possible and as best as possible. Because aside from everyone is talking about AI, realistically speaking, the people that actually know how to use it correctly when it comes to like the structure of prompts and all that, it's still 1%, 2%, 3% of the workforce that really knows what the capacity of the AI are and how to use it. So if I was to look at the current job market, it's like, don't try to fight it and say, oh, I'm not using AI because I know what I'm doing. Nobody's saying you don't. I think the smartest thing is actually to learn it as quickly as possible. It's something similar we've seen when computers came to be, when internet came to be. Initially, everyone was like, "Oh, the internet, you have internet," and now it's like everywhere.
Hey,
what's connected to the internet.
What's interesting about that? I use this. There's everything you're talking about now, which is the reasons to do it, and on top of all that, my let's see, what would it be? My youngest granddaughter's family, my son and my daughter-in-law and her mother. So I was talking to her mother, I don't know, whatever that is in law, really nice lady, but we're at a birthday party for the granddaughter. And we were talking about AI. This is about a year and a half ago or so. And it reminded me of back when the internet first came on. People my age at that time were separated from society. I mean, just kind of, like you said, everybody had internet. We had mobile phones. We had computers at our homes now, on our desks. And then there was people my age, millions and millions and millions of people that didn't understand or know that. And the lady that I was talking about, she's like, I don't want to learn it. I don't want to know about it, like you're saying right now. And that's really dangerous, actually, especially that this is like that time on steroids now. There was huge depression back then. Now, granted, you have your family, not a lot changes, but really 2/3 of the world you don't have access to now.
Yeah.
And with AI, it's going to be 90%, 99, eventually it's going to get there. What'd you say, 2-3% or something?
I think we're looking at 2-3% of people that actually
know what's happening.
Well, but it's not necessarily knowing what's happening today is the problem with AI, not necessarily a problem, just the speed. Where internet, me being a millennial, I've had the luxury of actually seeing different eras and different technologies kind of step into, my existence.
You're the bridge generation. You're the
Well,
the bridge
yeah,
generation between
we're
me
used to everything. Yeah,
and below you. They don't know any of me. You're the
exactly.
bridge. You've seen it all. You're my
Yeah, I've
son's age then.
seen, yeah. So, I've seen Nintendo. I've made a phone call from a
Oh,
landline to my friends. I had a Nokia
that's
3310.
true.
All
That's
those
true.
things, they don't.
That's
But then
true.
I also was taken violently by
You know what a
the
payphone
Web
is, right?
2.0. Of course,
You know what a
of
payphone
course,
is.
of
Those
course.
don't exist at all anymore, do they?
I know. Just thinking about it, gives me anxiety because I don't have any change.
You are the bridge, man. You've seen it all,
Yeah, and
You've
that's
seen it
why
all.
I see an acceleration when it comes to AI that's faster than anything we've seen before, and that's just the nature
100%.
of the technology. It's normal, and it's not. So my suggestion is just not necessarily become obsessive with it, right? It just use it and kind of get in the rhythm with it, because new things, improvements come out, tools come out. I mean, there are tools that are completely useless to me, to other people, based on the industry or whatever. The other day we were talking about the different options, the different apps, the engines, whatever you want to call it. If you're a gardener, there's apps that recognize plants and flowers that help you decide based on the
Yeah.
location and temperature. So it's not necessarily just something that's useful to me because I'm sitting in front of a screen all day. The use of AI, it's for everyone. So anyone that actually starts using it in a smart way, it will make everybody's life better, faster, I think, and more efficient. To say that every job will be
Can
saved,
I ask you
absolutely not.
something?
That's unlikely, but of course.
Let me ask you something. So I've had this a little bit ago. You were talking about the muffin maker and her role needing to evolve. Let's just say, things are going to change. I've been doing. I'm at over 500 episodes on the show now in a year and a half. We do 6 episodes a week, and I love it because I get to talk to experts like you. Somebody once told me, I don't know, a month ago or so, they said, "Man, you're the luckiest guy in the world. You get all this expert advice coming at you at least an hour every day, and you're able to learn so much more as you go along." But my point being is I since the beginning of that show, I started kind of with AI and this kind of looking at things, and I'm a real curious person, and I've started, and the Jetsons are here. You're that bridge. You know what the Jetsons are. You know that, of that cartoon at least.
Of course.
Well, they're
of
here,
course.
right? So the Jetsons are here. And I listen to a lot of different news and all that stuff. I've become kind of a junkie over this show because of just what I'm doing now. But I have this theory that a utopia is on its way. Okay, and I mean that literally, to the point of you can either work if you want or not have to work, because the cost of goods and services are going to be coming down so much that basically we're going to achieve that utopian point. And interesting enough, about a week ago, I was watching an interview, and it was what's his name? Oh God, I can't believe I forgot his name. Richest man in the world, SpaceX, and
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. And he said the same thing, that robots are going to be able to fulfill this. Do you have any thought on that? I mean, you obviously live in this world, and so I've started to ask people, do you think that's a realistic image or no?
No. Yes, I mean, I would love it to be, but it can't be. The reason for that is because things have a cost. Everything costs. So somebody has to pay, somebody has to make something. In order to make something, you have to pay for it. So maybe in 100 years, there will be some new sort of system, maybe. The way I look at it is, I think society in the next 20 years will probably divide it into 2 categories.
That's my next question. What are we going to look like? Yeah. What are we going to look like?
That are not plugged to the machine, which is a very matrix sort of style of looking at things. And I don't mean, on a dentist chair with wires connected to the brain with but there will be the ones that are connected to the computer, to the machine, and the ones that refuse
That's
or
interesting.
don't know how. The ones that don't know how, I'm sure there is going to be jobs and industries that will continue, and I think those jobs will become extremely valuable because, realistically speaking, a robot that can work in the fields and do agriculture, plumbing, precision jobs like electrician, those robots. As much as I would love it to be tomorrow, it's not going to be. It's still going to be
That's a
30
long
years
ways
out.
away. No way.
So
Yeah.
the only jobs
Those are the safest
that are
jobs
safe.
actually out there. Sorry
Of course.
about that. Those are the safest jobs out. The trades, unfortunately, there was a shift like 10 years ago. And it's funny you said that about the matrix that plugged in. My son and I had that same exact conversation a little while ago. That's fascinating.
I think this is just confirmation, but we've seen it in North America, during even economic downturns, the people that continue to work and hadn't really experienced such, violent economic turmoil have been electricians, plumbers.
Right.
Those are things that, as much as robots will get to the point of becoming precise enough to do it, it's not there yet. But I was talking to my friend, a friend of mine who is a teacher in university.
It is an industry, though. By the way, it is an industry. It is in manufacturing. The robotics that is there, which is fine. The adjustment didn't hurt that bad. But you're right. I don't see plumbers and electrician robots going around for a long, long time.
No, not yet. And I can't picture, Cindy, the muffin lady, calling a robot to fix, a broken sink. Not yet.
We have a new friend. The muffin lady is our new friend. Everybody say hi to the muffin lady for us, would you? Hey, do you want to take a couple of these questions? You want to mix a couple of these questions?
Sure.
This is a fun conversation. I mean, I've got a ton of questions over here. We've been going about a half hour. So we've already been going to half an hour. Matt, dude, I love this. I'm just going to start a couple of these are from more on the side of trust and the internet. We're kind of where we haven't been. We're circling around the muffin lady a lot here. So Adam here.
I will continue to use the muffin lady for all my examples. So
I love it. Let's do that. Let's do that. All right, good. We'll save her. We're going to save the muffin lady.
Yeah. She will always have a position in our heart. I don't know about in the office.
Dude, you're good. I like it. You're good.
How do you rebuild brand trust when the internet never forgets? Well, that's fun. That's a fun question because it's true. We never forget. Yeah,
that's what you were talking about opening up with. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's particularly in the world of AI, this is extremely interesting. Number one, rebuilding trust during a crisis. Number one is about admitting what went wrong. Rarely there is entire PR agencies that work on figuring out ways to hide, to spin, create narratives. At the end of the day, rarely ever works. Of course, every case is different. I've worked many PR crises in my career in the last 20 years of work. But realistically speaking, step one is admitting it, because the internet, number one, doesn't forget the crisis, but the internet also will not forget the response you will give the world or your clients or your audience. So it's about admitting it, what went wrong, taking the responsibilities for it, and then rebuilding. And in the world of AI, it's become, there is actually another question I'm going to connect because I saw
that's why I put it up there, because it kind of sounded like you were connecting these two
exactly
together.
And
they literally work together.
Yeah, and also because it connects to transparency and
right.
Reputation management also for AI in AI. So this all comes together, which
Good
also connects later to
guys.
the whole SEO. So in the world of AI, and this is a test I ask people to do very often, one thing you can do is you can ask any engine, what do you know about Anthony Neal Macri? Or what do you know about a brand? What do you know about a product? That is the first glimpse of what the internet says about you or what the AI is learning about you, because that's what's available. So of course, if you have a private Facebook account, that won't be accessed, but any sort of content that's on the internet, that all becomes part of the reputation. And while 10 years ago, people would have to go page by page and research and read what you said or what they said about you, now AI can spit it out in 30 seconds and give you a full report on a person or a product. And the other fun thing that you can do.
Do you use the term scraping?
Well, it doesn't
Scraping the
necessarily
internet,
scrape.
is that the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, what the AI does is just going and reading every page available, any source, and kind of like computing a version
Scraping it
that's like
all.
summarizing everything and giving it to you in a way that's, you know, readable in one page, and saving you a lot of time. But the other thing that's also very interesting, and this is very useful for me, for my job, but I think for everyone, you can also ask the AI after you've done the initial prompt of what do you know about this person or product. And the next thing you can ask is, what's the internet's opinion, or what is your opinion of this person or product? And that's where it
Oh, I
gets
hadn't
really
thought about that.
interesting, because it
Oh,
starts to become more critical to say, hey, there
interesting.
are some sources that say this, or confirmed sources also say this. And then it generates what it is, I guess, the AI opinion of you. And the interesting thing is that OpenAI, Grok, Gemini, whichever, technically they can all develop very different opinions of a person and brand. And that's where we'll connect later into what SEO means. Why it's dead, but not really, just we call it
I
differently.
really want to have
Whatever.
that
We'll get to that.
conversation.
We'll
Yeah, I
get to
do
that.
want to get to that. 100%. Yeah.
And also, and
Hey,
the other
since you brought it
question-
up, do you know of LDO?
LDO.
Yeah. Another type of search engine. It's a different format. I've just heard about it. Somebody is it's an SEO. I thought when you were talking about what's replacing it, now I'm really interested in hearing about this, because I don't know about other ones, but I've heard about this LDO one.
Yeah,
So
no,
go.
there's a million. There's a million tools that all. I mean, not all of them are great, but as I said, we're just at the beginning of what is this massive transformation of every industry.
That's true. That's true.
So there's going to be tools that are great, will survive. There's going to be tools that are garbage, will make a few bucks and disappear in the next 2 years, as we've seen in the .com bubble. You know, or
sure, absolutely,
it's the same. We're literally at the same stage, just different velocity. No, I wanted to answer, does AI make reputation management harder or easier? It makes it easier and harder. So easier because it's easier to control it.
Wait, hold on. Were you just answering a question somewhere? I'm off where you were going.
Does AI make reputation management harder or easier?
Yeah, are you down a little bit? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're down a couple.
All
right, so are you just going through them all? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm trying
to chatting with you.
No. I'm trying to kind of like follow some, like, if I can connect the answers, I'm trying to make sense of it all.
I got you.
When it's possible, of course. So not always possible, but yeah. So the reputation management, this connects well with the idea also. Working with a lot of clients whose goal is to become experts or quoted on search engines for certain topics. So if you're a researcher, if you're a doctor, if you're an engineer, if you're whatever that might be, the next frontier of reputation will be, if I ask Google, what is the best way, or what's the best doctor, what is blah, blah, blah. Now it's not necessarily about you visiting 10 pages and forming an opinion, which is what we did 5 years ago. Now it's the actual artificial intelligence that suggests what the answer might be without you even touching a web page. You know, and that changes dramatically how reputation is managed by companies. If before, you know, in 10 years ago, platforms for reviews were massive. So, and I don't know if you guys remember, or if you guys used to do this, but if you were buying a product, or whether it was digital or real life, you go into Google and typed in, I don't know, Ninja Blender reviews to see what everyone was thinking. Is it good? Is it garbage?
Yeah.
Now, if you were to do that in Google, Google will probably pull you a bunch of sources saying, it's won this award. This YouTube show says this. So it's just, now companies are running and controlling this. This is the next frontier of reputation management. So it makes it easier for people like me that work in the industry and do this for our clients. Looking at it from the outside, it sounds like a damn nightmare.
Now this is to me, this is well placed where this just came in. Are we over automating creativity and marketing? I've got a bunch of opinions about this. Other people have a bunch of opinions, and like you said, and that's what's so fascinating about being alive right now, because the world literally is going through a dramatic change. It's not going to look anything like it does today. What do you think? 10 years from now, that or early, or maybe longer? Nothing
I think
like
10 years, no, the velocity of it all is just nothing we've seen before. I think in 3 years, we'll
3 years.
I think so. We'll think back of, us sitting here in front of a camera and be like, oh my God, that was so lame. No, now I put some sunglasses on and I'm in the room, or whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think it's going to be violent. The changes we're going to see in the next 3 years max.
Oh, since you just said that, what's interesting, and that's the opposite, but remember for a minute, just for, I think the 80s or 90s, holographic images started to get a little better. And that's kind of what you were talking about, but it's the other way around. You're literally in the room now. I think that kind of stuff's going to be coming back in a big, huge way, right? That probably would.
Yeah.
That's probably how phones are going to be. The person, you're going to, go ahead.
I mean, there is already technologies like, Apple has their own, everyone is working towards this. I think realistically speaking, we just don't have the applications for it. Meaning the tech is there, there's just no utility. Meaning I could spend $4,000 in buying the device, and what am I going to do? Play games? Cool.
Yeah, right.
It's a cool toy, but it won't necessarily. It's similar to the first Apple Watch. First Apple Watch came. It did basic things. It was cool at the time, but very quickly after 2 years, it was slow because the apps that started coming out for the watch would just slow it down. So it became garbage. So it's not like it wasn't available. It's just that sometimes there's got to be a balance between the applications of it and then the tech. The tech we have, I think now it's about
interesting. I didn't know that.
Using the actual tech to become useful, mass useful to a lot of different people for different things. If I just use it to watch TV without a TV, okay, that's cool, but I don't necessarily see a massive adoption for that kind of technology.
It's not what's the term, when it's not financially, but when it becomes marketable. Never mind. I can't think of the word.
No, I think it's two things that need to kind of meet. The tech needs to lower in cost, so it's accessible by the masses. $4,000 is not very accessible. It's a cool toy, but $4,000 is still a lot of money. And then also the applications, which is generally they go hand in hand, because as the prices go down, more apps come out, and then it's like the perfect storm where we're going to see everyone having this, which is a bit like smartphones. Virtually it's the same thing, right? But to go back to answer if we're over automating creativity, which I think connects well to the point. Absolutely, yes. I think there is an abundant amount of garbage online. Working with AI, but also having worked as a creative in marketing campaigns that were, featured all over the world, launching companies all over the world. I think from a professional perspective, I can tell if something has been created using AI, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, like, sure, it can work if you're moving fast and you need something done quickly. I have no issue with using AI to generate, a quick image or a banner or whatever it is. But I think the point is we need to take a step back, because from a marketing perspective, as I was saying before, there's so much content being pumped out nowadays that the people, actually the creatives that are behind it, that are creating these marketing campaigns, feel completely detached from the process. Lately, like for example, like,
what do you mean by, wait,
what
do you mean by that?
Detached, because it's like, if before I had to meet with my creative team, my designers, and say, hey, we're launching this new feature or this new company, we need to come up with like 3, 4, 6 different creatives and test them. There was actual thinking behind it. There was critical thinking. We were joking, you laugh about it, you come out with like crazy ideas that are absolutely out there, that turn out actually to work. But I think the out there-ness of a human mind, and the way I explain this, or simplify this, is this. If you look at the Sistine Chapel in Rome, that's you can tell that's an inspired work. You look at it, you're like, okay, there was inspiration. As much as machines are getting better and better, can design, can create, they cannot be inspired. Inspiration is something that comes from humans, and humans get inspired by human existence. So yes, there is a lot of garbage out there. And I think the creatives that know how to use AI correctly while still remaining in control of the creative process will be the ones that actually do incredible things in this
well put.
next 20 years. As I was saying, one of the latest campaigns that worked so beautifully and was a great success, but it was such a cheap idea that no machine can ever come up with. We were going to a conference, this language check AI, and my idea was, how do we make an impression to everybody that's at the conference, like on the exhibition? We were one of the exhibitors. We wanted to make a good impression with the other exhibitors. So my idea was, we deliver pizzas to each one of them, and on the box it said something like, this is a gift from languagecheck.ai, and then inside another piece of paper stuck a sticker that said, you didn't notice the mistake. That's what language check AI is for. Because on the front there was a tiny mistake that you couldn't tell. But that went that went very viral, because number one, at the conference we quickly become the pizza guys, which was fitting because it's an Italian company, so that's also branding. But also it delivered the message of what the company does in a tangible way. Like, you were literally standing in front of it and saying, oh shit, I didn't see the mistake. And you open it and you're like, okay, that's what the product is for. So that's an elevator pitch done in less than 5 seconds. And it's something that,
good.
Weeks later, I would contact some of the people I met at the conference. They're like, oh yeah, you're Anthony, the pizza guy. I'm the pizza guy. Of course I'm the pizza guy. But
right there. You're
that's something that AI cannot do. That's human creativity that comes up with this type of thing. And of course, you can use AI to put it together. Like, if you need to quickly, whip some graphics, whatever, for sure. But no more than that. Humans still, I think, when it comes to creativity, and inspiration, are still at the center.
Would you tie that into what is it, Mick? How should small brands? Because this is something I constantly think about. I think we're up to now across our social media about 25,000 subscribers. Now, we've gotten there in a year and a half, so the message is really going well. We're getting subscribers literally every day. But I'm like I said, a little brand. So how should I compete with AI powered discovery?
I think the easiest way to explain it, but also to break it down for a small business, that at least I tell many of my clients, is, think of it this way. Large companies are worried about volume, and they're going out with massive amounts of content. I think for a smaller for smaller brands, what's important is to actually speak from an authority perspective, and also creating what it is, a personal brand, a persona online, which is pretty much you, the CEO or the vice president or whoever it is, because people are noticing this, and this is already being shown in research, etc. There is a difference in the content that's written by AI and human written content, communication written by humans and AI written communication.
Meaning what the difference and how it lands,
perception.
or what do you mean? The perception. Okay.
Exactly.
How it lands. Okay. So if it's written by AI, it lands on a person one way. If it's written by a human, it lands on that same person a different way.
Exactly.
Because
because number one, we're seeing huge amounts of content. People are bombarded with advertising, banners, promises of everything. If you, for example, if you were I'll use the travel industry, for example, small business. What's the difference between, and I use this very often even at conferences, what's the difference between an Expedia telling you to buy a package for travel, or a lady named Cindy, who's a personal, she's back, who's a personal travel expert, and she's been there personally. There are photos of her in that location, and she's writing it on a personal level and answering questions that are not the usual corporate answers, but they're like, more of a blog, more of a narrative style, more personal. I've seen this actually happen. The conversion rates on Cindy, the muffin maker who likes to travel, are way better than Expedia style page.
Interesting.
This goes to show that
makes sense.
Personal
that
touch,
makes sense.
And that's just from a communication perspective. Then if we want to go more deep into the tech side of things, if before, 10 years ago, everyone used to say content is king. The goal was to pump out content as much as possible because, of course, Google would index it, better chance of being indexed, more traffic, blah, blah, blah. What I think is happening now, it's the opposite. Now it's about being published in the right places and getting the right content on
Which
the right
are
platform.
What are the right places, or does it vary depending on each thing? Is that a hard question to ask?
No, it's very simple. I mean, I'm not sure what Mac Atram industry is, so I'll continue to use Cindy, the travel muffin maker. But for example, if we're continuing with Cindy,
I really like
this
Cindy.
way,
right? I'm kind of getting a little crush on Cindy here.
She's great. It's muffins, travels.
Yeah, I mean, she's awesome.
It's perfect. But if we were to use her as an example again, so think of it as your industry. Travel is industry. We go a little deeper. Maybe your number one destination that you sell and promote is, I don't know, Europe. Okay, so then the next thing you want to know is you can either ask ChatGPT or do the research yourself. What are the largest publications, the blogs that have the most amount of authority into this industry? And try to, number one, see what they're saying, and two, see if there is opportunities for a byline article, guest posting, and there's tons and an infinity of them. So it's not necessarily about the quantity; it's about the quality of it all. So take a step back.
Where that place actually is, in addition to what I'm putting out there, for instance, or Cindy's putting out there, for instance.
Exactly, and also try to answer questions in a natural way. How often? It depends on the competition and, of course, the output capacity.
You said not such a big deal to just keep pumping it out, but you got to be kind of regular to a point.
Well, I mean, no, but I mean, what I mean pumping it out is that with Claude or ChatGPT, technically, I could write 100 blog posts in 5 minutes, and that's within the normal speeds of today's world. What I say is, if you to write or to think about a great piece of content, and what I mean by that is take a step back and try to think what people are searching on Google. That alone, I think it's a masterclass in itself, because if yesterday, 10 years ago, you would say travel packages for summer 2026 Europe, whatever. You would visit all these different pages. I think now people are using Google where they're asking like plain like straight up questions. The point is being there when these questions are asked, and you should be there with the answers ready. And that's when the AI starts picking you up, and taking you part of the conversation and making you part of the conversation.
You know what's interesting about that right there, and just to add maybe some color in the layers there. I've heard this and am currently experiencing it on an ongoing better and better level, meaning as my AI, my agents, the different things that I use them for, the more that I use them and correct this or correct that or make that adjustment or write that prompt, they're actually getting to know me. You know, how I think, how I write, how I, you know what I mean? So the quality, it's like that personal assistant, I'll use the word on steroids, Cindy's on steroids though, is really learning more. And what's nice is every time you get through a certain level, I think I've been, see, my granddaughter's 2 years old, her birthday. So I've been using AI for 2 years. My son taught me it while we were at the house, while she was at the hospital, you know, that kind of thing. I stayed with him for a week. And he said, you know what? To your point, right out of the gate, thank goodness another millennial told me, hey, you know what? Start with just free Chat GPT and just use it to write an email, or, you know, just use it, like you said, just find reason. And my God, folks, he taking this all the way back to the beginning, and then we can move on again. But literally doing that, using that technology is really, 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 really critical. And it's actually very easy, because all you're doing at that point is you're talking to somebody. I had one of the first things I ever did, I said, hey, make me the perfect description of this. And I told it what to do. And it did. It made this thing that I wanted to have perfectly written, that I was having trouble dialing in where I wanted to go. And it literally added some meaning or some depth into what I wanted to write. And so anyway, that was going off board a little bit, but it's interesting how AI is really moving at such a really interesting place. It's interesting to be in the world today.
Yeah,
do you mind
it's
reading
a multiplier.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. You know, and they talk about in management. I have some people that have come on, and they say AI doesn't change management. What it does is it amplifies whatever's there, right? And that's what AI does. It's a multiplier, like you just said.
Yeah, it just makes everything faster, and gathering data and manipulating it, elaborating it much faster. So, you know, an example, my friend is a civil engineer, and, you know, civil engineers build bridges. Like, before, it would take me 3 years to build a bridge, because you're finding cases of other bridges, the materials, where they've been built, you know, have they collapsed? Right. People died? Yes, no, continued, good build, not. He's like, now I can virtually do that in 30 minutes just by plugging in a bunch of data from a bunch of papers, and I can safely, you know, of course, he's like, of course, this data needs to be checked, because you don't want some drift or hallucination and disaster. But the bulk of the work now can be done at lightning speed. But so what's, let's see this question. What's one AI tool you generally, I don't trust any of them. No.
What do you mean by that?
No, I'm joking. I trust all of them for what they are. Meaning, would I blindly take some content that's been created by artificial intelligence? Absolutely not. Do I use a lot of them? I use a variety of them for different things. So if I was to, I guess, give you my personal stack, how I use it. I use Claude for writing. For creative writing, or not necessarily to write my content, but if I need, you know, ideas on blog posts or creative help in the topics that I want to cover, Claude is better. And I think even from the way it produces the ideas, the way it elaborates them, if I'm talking back and forth and, you know, spitting out ideas, and it's also great at getting your ideas critiqued. So if I'm thinking of writing I write a lot on a number of publications. And if my idea is like, oh, I want to talk about this. So you kind of put in there the outline and say, find holes or critique this sort of outline. And it quickly can help you say, okay, strong in this, not too strong on that, but I think there's a
Right.
hole
Yep.
here. So it helps you think better. So it's not really doing my writing, but I think Claude is a lot better at the creative side of things. It cannot generate images. It's only writing, but I think it's great. Of course, ChatGPT is
So you
best at
have
everything.
Claude that does just that, and then you have another one that does something different, it sounds like.
Yes. So then Gemini for which is Google. I think
Okay.
Gemini and Grok. Grok is Elon Musk, so it's an ex product, ex Twitter.
You know why he did
Both
that?
are
You know why he started that?
Grok.
Yeah,
Grok is incredible for image generation or
it is. But do you know why he started it?
no. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I've heard of it.
He started he started the Chat GPT because he wanted a free source of that. So he started the free Chat GPT. And then the board or the chair people that, on his whatever, the people that also, they took it and they started charging, which it's a fine product. It's a great product. So, and he's fought that for years. Finally said, F it. And he started Grok. And that's why he started. And he completely owns it. And he's never going to make a charge. He's an interesting character to me. But anyway, go ahead. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No worries. So Grok and Gemini definitely for image generation, though I must say all of them are great virtually at doing everything. This is mostly my personal preference. I think it's also a question of how accustomed I am to the prompts and how well they know me. I know that sounds very creepy.
No, that's exactly it.
But having worked for months, years with each platform, I have sort of different chemistry with and different way I even talk to them, the prompts, which is strange because at times I feel like I sound like I'm going through a psychosis. But different machines require different language and different prompts. So this is my personal one. ChatGPT is great for virtually everything. Needless to say, it's probably the biggest platform we have today, and it's best at everything. And then the latest one that I've been keeping an eye on, which is it's super fascinating. So I can't promise it's great or not. It's called the Little Bird, I believe. Let me verify. Little Bird. Yeah, it's called Little Bird. So I can talk about the product.
This is another. Okay, before you talk about the product, but I got a question for you. I've been dying to ask you for about a minute and a half. Do you do some of your prompts in Italian and some in English for different? Yeah, that's what I thought. Do you get a better result, or do you get a more cocky one or the other thing going on there, or is there any difference at all?
No, this is one thing that I think it's important for who's just starting with ChatGPT. I think one of the things that's important is once you create an account on ChatGPT but let's use ChatGPT because it's probably the most common. Once you have your account, make sure that you save your history for ChatGPT because this allows for continuity of the conversation. What I mean by that is if me and ChatGPT are talking about an idea that I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about writing a book. Okay, so we chat back and forth for an hour. Then leave that idea there. 2 weeks go by, and then I'm like, I wonder if this could be added. If you were to ask ChatGPT, remember the book we talked about, blah, 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 I want to add this. What happens is all that's in your history will be, the AI will be able to bring it back from its memory and re-elaborate it plus what you're adding now. So it's not, don't think of it as sort of like back and forth like a session. And once that session is dead, it's done and deal with. It can have continuity over time.
You have to stay in the same chat, right? To have that happen. If you move to a different, or is it across that?
Across.
area.
across.
Oh, okay.
So for example, if I don't like a certain style of writing,
That's
or
huge, man. That's huge. For somebody who's
yeah,
unorganized like I am, I'm not as, I do a lot of stuff. So I keep it together, but that's a big deal for somebody who has data that can't have it you know what I mean? You can go back to that
yeah,
space and that's huge. Go ahead.
yeah, and you can call it.
By the way,
you can call
there's
it that.
320. By the way, there's 328 people. I forgot to mention this. They've been on here the whole time. Exactly that number. You've got a nice fan base going here. Go ahead with what you were saying.
Flattered. No, what I was going to say is this new tool that I'm testing, so I can't promise, but it's very promising, and I'm fascinated by that. It's called Little Bird. So supposedly, it's an application that you download on your computer, and what it does, it watches everything you do all day, what you type, what you create, everything you do in your workflow.
Interesting.
And it becomes your assistant, because let's say I created I don't know, an infographic this morning for a client at 5 p.m. I don't remember where I saved it. You can just ask Little Bird, where is that stupid infographic? And it pulls it up.
Oh,
Yeah.
so this is like an application on your computer that you can pull
Yes.
up and
it watches everything you do. Yeah.
Oh, that's going to happen. That's definitely. But now, what if you work at, like, I have a studio here at the Mangum City Library, right? This is a studio, and then I have one at home, and so I have two different computers, and then maybe I have something on my phone. Can they interact too?
I would think so. I think the paid version.
I bet you could cross over. Yeah, I bet you could do that.
Yeah, of course. I'm sure. I downloaded it 48 hours ago, and I'm testing
Where'd
it
you
out.
find
So,
this?
as I said, I don't remember how I found. Like, I just online, I was reading an article, and it sounded very, incredible for me, because it's like, I have many conversations with clients. Like, for example, like with a client, I might have talked about something 2 weeks ago, and we discussed something, and I'm like, can't find that stupid email. You go into Little Bird, and you're like, oh, I was talking about this with this person. Can you find that thread? And it's like, here's your email. So it's just.
And then I bet you that'll get close. The more if this works,
better and better, better and better,
better and better. Same thing as the AI, because it's AI powered, I assume, right?
Yes, yeah. I believe that the engine behind is OpenAI, regardless. So
it's OpenAI.
I believe so. As I said, it's been 48 hours, but I'm very excited about this. So we'll see. That's why I said there is an infinity of tools coming out.
Oh, but yeah, and you know what? That's just the beginning of that, because that's a next level tool. That right there, I think, is that next level tool. This is an assistant with this AI that we're using now. That's definitely, there's definitely that level, but this is like that next level. That's like an executive secretary. What did you call her, Cindy? Now that's executive. That's big time, because if you could say
that's Cindy,
where
but
the hell
no
is
muffins.
No muffins. Yeah, that's true. She has somebody else get the muffins.
Yes. Well, she can probably order an Uber Eats though.
Yeah. So let's do this. What role does transparency play in rebuilding authority? That's the last question. Then I've got two comments I want you to read, please, in a minute out loud. But before we go here, it looks like we're getting. Oh, by the way, we've been going an hour and 5 minutes already. Can you believe that? I don't know about you, but this is flying by for me. It's like, this is.
Yeah, it's fun. It's been a lot of fun.
It has been a lot of fun. See the private chat. It's not called private chat on your side. It's called studio chat or something like that on the right side.
Yeah, I can see, but I'm not seeing any messages.
Correct. You don't. Okay. I want you to put in what contact him, because you know how it is. Somebody's going to watch this show a second after we end, a year after we end, whatever, a minute after we end, and they're going to wish that they were on saying, "Damn it, I would have asked Anthony this." But this way they can get right to you, contact you directly, because we get comments on our afterwards on here,
of course,
here and there, but I don't look for messages for
people. Of course.
Okay, you got them there. All right. So go on with transparency, and then I'm gonna copy and paste this over while you're talking. I'll be right back.
Sure. Just
Hey,
let
great
me make
questions
sure.
today, by the way, guys. Sorry. Great questions today. What role does transparency play in rebuilding authority? That's kind of how we started off. And for some reason, we went out of AI and right back
No,
into that. So, Dirk, great question. I appreciate you wrapping that up. I'll be with you in a second, guys.
I think ultimately, whether it's Ashley Madison, whether it's any other brand that goes through a crisis or is rebuilding or building, I think transparency is at the base of every sort of public relation move. And what I mean by that is, particularly now with AI, transparency is not necessarily something you can force or you can implement. I think it will be forced upon the brands to be transparent, because if before it required hours and hours of research to find out if a company was doing something shady or something sketchy, now with AI you can probably get that done in like very, very, very few seconds. So I think transparency is not necessarily something that companies nowadays with AI can do. I think it's part of the infrastructure. So when you think about your brand or your company, I think transparency it's just part of the foundation on how the company is built, whatever that means. And that's why digital PR and SEO as a whole with AI are all kind of now working together in managing what is the reputation, but also how a company, while remaining transparent, can also be, creating authority and be trusted. So yeah.
Let me ask you this. I want to get to those comments I was talking about a second ago, but you just said SEO, and it reminded me, we didn't get to the second half of the SEO. Yes, SEO is kind of, and I've heard that for a little bit, that SEO is kind of dying out or whatever, for whatever reason. I have no idea any of this
It's
stuff.
changing. It's changing, but not dying.
So what's replacing? It's changing, but not dying. Okay, so how's it changing, and what else is coming?
So let's think about 15 years ago. When I started with SEO 15 years ago, it was about, there was white hat, black hat, all these hats. There was all sorts of sketchy things you can do, because the whole point was to trick the algorithm, which Google, Bing, whichever that was, to index your page higher than the others. And it was a fairly, the algorithm was complex, but it wasn't overly complex. But it was about knowing what the signals were, how you implement the signals. Sometimes you would pay for those signals. Sometimes you would do very sketchy things to get them, creating links that link back to your website, writing blog posts on other websites. Those were all activities that were part of SEO 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I think SEO now has become a lot easier and a lot more complex for two reasons. One, because if before the algorithm couldn't understand what you were saying because it wasn't AI, a backlink was simply based on a number of things: the domain authority, the age of the domain, which are very numeric. It's math. The domain has 70 out of 100 score, good domain. So it was pretty mathematical. It was just numbers. Now I think SEO is not dead. It's just changing, because now they're plugging it into AI, which means that the Google, in deciding which source, if we're to use again the Cindy that travels, and there is a competitor, let's say that they have the same exact product on the internet, virtually the same page. How does Google decide which one of the two? So it goes to look at signals on other websites that are talking about one or the other website. But they don't just look at the domain authority, which is a mathematical value. For example,
they still are looking at that, though. They still are looking at that.
They are, but there's a difference. So, for example, if we're talking about travel, and Cindy got a backlink from Expedia, which is a travel giant, and the other website got link from Tom's Hardware, which virtually, let's say, has the same domain authority. From a contextual perspective and from a meaning perspective, Google goes to check what content was written on the two websites that are talking about the website, and sees if it's building authority or it's just a link. Because nowadays you can also buy the link. But if it's a link in a footer of a page, does not have the same value as Expedia saying, our favorite muffin maker and traveler of Europe is Cindy, so visit our website. It's different than a link on tomshardware.com with no context and a website that doesn't deal with travel. So that we've seen that coming for the past few years. I think now with AI, that's just accelerating, because where before it was easier to trick the system to think that it was just a bunch of activities, and all the SEO. I've been an SEO strategist for years, but I remember even in boardrooms, all these SEO people, I was just talking to crazy people because it was all these jargon, algorithms, and numbers, and blah blah blah.
Exactly.
Hasn't changed much, but what I think it's easier to explain is simply you're trying to create authority on authority websites that talk about your website. So it's about creating that community, that content that's relevant. A travel website has no business in being featured on a Russian gas company. Has no value. That link will literally have no weight when it comes to even AI indexing your website, because the AI understands that, sure, you might have gotten that link in a very natural way, but it's not contextual. Has nothing to do with your business. But if cindytravels.com is linked, and let's say she's based in New Jersey, and all the New Jersey websites in the travel sections are talking about her, well, guess what? When somebody goes in Google in New Jersey and says, I need to book a trip to Europe in 2026, chances are that cindytravels.com will probably be in that mix of sources, simply because she's built that reputation and that the content that supports it. And she built it on her website, but also managed to build it on other websites, which is a lot of the work I do nowadays with a lot of my clients, which is managing exactly that.
What's interesting now, I just had a thought come to my mind real quick, but what's interesting now is I keep hearing about this in this new, what we all have to remember is we're building a business. This is a business. And I know that sounds kind of silly right now, but it seems like 30 years ago, when you wanted to create a business, you started with the nuts and bolts stuff, and then did the money making stuff as you got through that other stuff. It seems like today, and maybe it's just my experience, and maybe but it seems like today, so many of these conversations seem to happen more than when I was having my, let's call it brick and mortar business, if that makes sense. The machinery business versus this loud noise, what would I call it? Attention economy. In the attention economy, people just get out there and do stuff, and then they have to kind of fall back and go, okay, I've got to do marketing, I've got to build my reputation, I've got to build my, and what they're doing is just kind of throwing noise out there right now too. I mean, that's a great amount of this, isn't it? I want you to read a comment here as you answer that.
Yeah, I think the problem is the ease. It's the ease of entry into making noise.
There you go. Okay.
I think that's the problem, because everyone feels
Makes sense.
entitled. Everybody should feel entitled to get their stuff out there. I think the problem is that when there is no criteria or no strategy behind it, you're not necessarily helping your business or helping anyone. You're just screaming in a room of other people who are also screaming. So there is really no strategy. Nobody's hearing you. You can't hear yourself, and it's just this infinite loop. And I see this in many companies that build great products, great services, great everything. The point is that if you don't really have a strategy to, number one, get in front of the right people, but also once you get in front of them, capture their attention and keep and nurture it in order to build that business. Because it's not just about screaming at them once. It's about once you get their attention, what are you going to do with that attention over time? So, and the other thing is, before there were two worlds. There was public relations, which was one, you paid an agency. Then there was SEO, was another agency that works, they never even met. They didn't even need to know about each other. And now I think, realistically speaking, I think a good PR agency needs to know SEO, and a good SEO strategist needs to be a publicist. It's inevitable. That's just because if I am to manage your visibility, whether it's on the internet or on AI or whatever it is, part of my job is pitching, is getting you coverage on relevant news outlets, media. And to do that, you're a publicist. So there's less technology and it's more communication. But the two worlds are no longer, it's not 10 years ago, it was about, knowing which forum to buy links, which was kind of like, you did your own thing and the publicist went out there and had drinks with the journalist. Now the two things have become the same things. The two worlds have become one.
They've merged into a beautiful little baby. It's like any industry. It's maturing. I mean, it's taking the path that makes most sense. What you just said makes sense. You're having especially if you have both those assets, it's more, you may not have to need to know about each other, but the fact that you do has got to be a more authenticity we talk a lot about on the show, and that really kind of converges better if it's the same mind, exactly. That's learning that. Why don't you, I'm going to have you read a couple comments here, and then why don't you go into, what do you want to lead? I mean, almost 350 people here. So you've captivated an audience. It's obviously AI is always an important topic. And then blending with that also what a lot of people are doing with AI is, I mean, whether it's a side hustle, making a couple bucks here or there, or building a full business, there is still this whole thing that goes in. And why don't you, what you want to leave people with in a closing comment, and then I'll lock this down and keep an eye on you while you're in the green room.
Okay.
And I'll meet you back.
Well, I mean,
so read this one out loud.
Which one, the question or the comment? Question.
You see oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I read that wrong. Oh, because I only read the first part of it. Yeah. Why don't you read the question first, and then I've got another comment here.
Okay. No worries. How do you personally build trust after a public crisis? Well, as I mentioned before, but I think here we can go a little bit more in depth. I think the secret is to actually admit what went wrong, whether it's if it's a personal meltdown.
You said that early on.
If it's like if you're a real estate agent, a lawyer, or whatever, and you have a meltdown, I think, or there's some crisis, some reputational issues to manage. I think it's about taking it head on and admitting to it. And after that is about not trying to hide it. If possible, turn it into something positive, whether it's a learning lesson, whether it's has made your business stronger, your practice stronger, or your product stronger. Like in the case, for example, if your platform gets hacked, all you can do at that point, there's no point in saying it hasn't happened. It did happen. All you can do at that point is saying we will spend all the money necessary to make sure that we have the world's top security to make sure this doesn't happen. If it is another issue that's personal, meaning from a freelance perspective, is about this was a learning lesson, and this has helped me actually become a better professional in the industry. So it's about not hiding, especially because, as somebody said before, the internet never forgets. So pretending that something just goes away after a while, and people do get tired, because after the rage and the scandal and whatever, people just get tired and pass on to the next rage thing. But it's still there. So if you're looking at building something consistent and meaningful in the future, it's not trying to hide it. It's about eventually nurturing it and turning it into something positive that can actually be used to actually open doors instead of closing them.
Good point. I love that. All right. So that's your mail. That's correct, right? I copied and pasted correctly.
Yeah.
And then that's your website right there, right? All right. Now, would you please read Jack's comment? Man, I messed that up. I really thought I was serving you up well here.
Love the depth here, not just hype, but reality. Thank you. This is great. It's good to know. I think the real star here was Cindy. But
Cindy, I think, Cindy, man, she just, to use baseball analogy, she knocked it out of the park, man. Cindy blew it up, man. We love Cindy. We love Cindy. I'm gonna email you and ask her if I can borrow her for a little while.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
All right. Cool, man. All right. What do you want to leave everybody here with before I throw you back in the green room? We're almost at an hour and a half on this show. Beautiful show. Everything I had hoped for and more. And but what do you want to leave as a message now? We'll have to keep in contact, stay in touch, so to
Sure.
speak, and we'll talk about that back in the green room.
I think the closing message is, don't try to fight it. Don't look at AI as if it's your biggest enemy. Make it your best friend.
Yeah.
Not meaning don't go crazy and make it really your friend, but make it useful to your career and your life.
There are people who've done that. You've heard about that, right?
Yes. That's why I'm very careful when I say make it your friend, because I don't want to be messaged by somebody's like, I'm engaged to ChatGPT. I never suggested that.
Yeah. I remember. Now I understand why you were like, this may sound a little creepy, but because I was like, what? That's not creepy. But now I'm thinking, okay, you're more involved in all this. And I've heard stories of some lady having a boyfriend, and that AI ended up having
online communities. They post selfies with their whatever. That's why I was like, no. I was like, don't fight it. Meaning, but use it carefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Use it right.
Yeah, use it right.
I'm going to throw you in the green room. Give everybody a big wave.
Cool.
We're all still here loving what you got. All right, bro. See you in a second.
Bye, everyone.
All right. There you go, guys. That was a lot of fun. It was, and honestly, it was more fun than I thought it was going to be. Not that I didn't think it was going to be fun or anything like that. I said from the beginning. But Anthony, man, I very love your personality, dude. You're a very good storyteller and conversationalist. We talked to a lot of people on the show, and while I thought this was going to be an excellent show, it was even more fascinating than I thought it was going to be. And that I owe that to you, Anthony. I appreciate it, man. Good job. I just want to kind of point out a couple of things, because what stood out to me today wasn't the AI. It was the restraint in a world obsessed with speed and scale. We talked about that, right? Anthony kept coming back to the quality control part about things, the reputation, the long-term credibility. That's different, because the great middle class doesn't win by chasing hype, right? We win by building trust. If you've got value from this conversation, and I believe you did, here's what I want you to do. First, subscribe to the YouTube channel at Rod Duff 1939. And not just this episode. Watch 2 or 3. Understand the ecosystem, right? Second, join us on our Substack. That's where we get deeper deeper layers. That's where those happen. Behind the scenes thinking happens there. Barbieisms, Friday mic drops, Wednesday's poem and pages. Third, share this episode with one founder or an operator who is experimenting with AI right now. There's a lot to it, man, because this isn't about tools. It's about responsibility. Anthony, thank you, right, for bringing the real stories, not the polished ones, into our audience. You guys right there. We'll see you next time right here on Insights and Straight Talk. I am your host, Rod Duff, and I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here, and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.